Hello everyone and welcome. This is I think 31st webinar. We've had a huge series and today's topic again is a very interesting one again by popular request. So this thing is more on SOC 2 and the CCM. So CCM is a cloud control matrix. I'm sure that all of you know that. And so the thing that came up was that there's a CCM. So my company is thinking of doing a CCM. So should we do SOC 2 or not? Or if you've done SOC 2, then should we do CCM or not? Or if you end up doing both, then would it add to my compliance or not? So there are just too many queries. So what we thought is, again, let us have a nice webinar and get the facts on the road. So here we go. And thank you again for turning up for this webinar. And towards the end, there would be a brief survey as we exit the webinar. Do ensure as a request to fill up that sheet so that we know what is your feedback on this. And I got my colleague on this webinar also, and he will be also be assisting me on this. And if you have any queries with regards to or any issues with regards to audio, video or anything, then just drop a line on the chat box and we will get back to you. And one more thing I can say is that whatever your queries, just put it in the chat box. I take it on the fly, and more often than not there are just too many queries and we end up like sometimes 40-50 queries because the session gets very interesting, and obviously I can't do that in 45 minutes. So what I do is that I take up a few extremely critical ones, and again that doesn't mean that your other queries are not critical or important. It simply means that I will address it. I will write to you personally, and of course you will have my response to your queries. So stay tuned and enjoy on this. So one rule only, the rules of the game. There's only one rule. That is my favorite quote from my philosopher Descartes, that it's not the answer that enlightens, but it's a question always. So do drop in a query, otherwise this session is going to be extremely dry. So I don't want you nodding off, and I'm checking your audience view, which as of now is 100%. So as you start dozing off, it starts dropping. So ensure that you are there with me. All right. So this is about me. uh, on the looks of it, many of the people who are attending already know me, so thank you for being there. But for the rest, I have my own company, VISTA InfoSec, and we are into all this InfoSec compliance, audit, strategy development, and stuff. And I myself a PCI QSA. I've just completed my PCI QPA. Yes, that's something new. We are now an official qualified PIN assessors for the PCI Council. There's just like 50 odd companies in the world, and we are one of them. It's a huge achievement for us. So thank you for all your best wishes on that. And okay, that's me, Narendra Sahoo. And okay, going ahead. There are tons of videos that you have put on with regards to webinars, earlier webinars and programs and sheets. With regards to SOC 2, that is our YouTube channel, and that's the sheet below. Now, I cannot be getting into all the nuances and bits and pieces of SOC 2. So you can visit the site and look it up, the pages. The relevant what is a slide, and what I've done is that I've just copied and I've pasted the link in the chat box, so you can always visit that. I hope you have it. Yeah, there it is. So you can click on it, and that's a YouTube channel, and that's the entire SOC 2 playlist, because I will not be having the time, I hope you understand, to go through every areas of SOC 2. There is a ton of videos on that. Do watch it, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel also. There is almost like 300 plus subscribers on our channel, so thank you for the patronage. And going ahead, that is a brief on our company. We are primarily into information security, compliance, and governance. That's the #1 line of service. When we do all of these things, PCI, PADSS, PAQPS, and the standard compliance, business continuity, regulatory compliance, local, international. Even we do SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 that you see, cloud risk management, including CCM, C-Star, InfoSec audit, software license audit. In DLP planning, we help companies. And the second department that we have is with regards to all these, security testing, VAPT, Web AppSec, virtualization assessment. We do a lot of cyber forensics, social engineering, red team assessment. That's one of our core areas. We have a separate team for all the design, technical, advisory companies, and We are into design advisory, data center consulting, and we are one of those very few companies who are actually doing specialized assessments of your WAF, SIM, IPS, DAM, WIPS. Why that's important? Because I'm sure that every one of you attending this program, this webinar, has would have done some VAPT, vulnerability assessment, pen testing in your company. But let me ask you, how many of you have actually done an assessment of your WAF, SIM, IPS, DAM? So that's what also we do. And last but not the least, we have our own online training portal also, including on-site and off-site. So that's about me and my company. Moving ahead, the agenda for the day, you're already aware of this, background of cloud, SOC2, CCM, and how they pair up together. So without much ado, let us jump directly into it. So the base of cloud computing is because it's been a radical shift actually when cloud and all started appearing on the horizon like 10, 15 years back. It was basically looked at as a poor man's venue, because all the big companies have their own data centers, own structures and stuff, and the small companies, so if you're on the cloud, you don't have, and you're a small company. But then it's so nice to see the shift that some of the largest companies on this planet are on the cloud, and they are happening, they are there, most of it on the cloud. Banks are there on the cloud, payment gateways, so many things are on the cloud. Pharmaceutical companies, SAP, now there is even an SAP version on the cloud. Otherwise, you end up with a data center which is notoriously underutilized, with like 85% of the time lying idle. And failover becomes an issue, space becomes an issue, power, cooling becomes an issue, backup becomes an issue. So that's where cloud computing jumps in. And these are a few delivery models. Private is where it is made for you, your company. Community means it's for a shared interest. So there are cloud which is dedicated for privacy related data, cloud that is dedicated for PCI DSS, fully certified on that. And last but not the least, which more like 99% of the companies would be using, is the public cloud, which is general purpose, means anybody can be using anything. So it is like an Amazon, AWS, or Microsoft Azure, or Google Clouds, or whatever be the case. Of course, they have a dedicated model also, but this is for the public cloud, is what most of the companies would be using. In the deployment scenarios, software as a service at top level, something like Salesforce. There are so many CRMs, so many payroll systems here on the cloud. There is platform as a service, which is provided by somebody like a GoDaddy or Big Rock, and so many companies. That is, you get a base system with a platform on it, like a database or an OS, or even a web server, but everything else is yours. So the application is yours. In SaaS, the application is not yours, only the data is yours. And last but not the least is a bare metal, that is infrastructure as a service, where you just get a login prompt and you do everything, including loading the OS, configuring, managing, patching, everything. So there are other models also, security as a service, directory as a service, which is there. And this is some of the differences in scope and control. And as you can see, I can't really get into this. This is so interesting. And if you haven't seen it, what I would request is one sec. Oh man, I just got a comment that the screen had not changed. Man, okay. So this is what I was talking about with regards to cloud as a service. There are different models over there. Thank you for the comment, Rachit. Thank you so much for flagging me on that. I hope it was not a major thing. I'll just skip back to the other slides that you missed. Yeah, these are the okay. We are seeing that the cloud data centers are notoriously underutilized, and then we spoke about the different cloud models, private, community, and the public. And the next was the deployment services, that again most of you are aware: security and software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and again security as a service, directory as a service. We even have like compliance as a service and stuff. And these are the differences in control. And this is an extremely interesting slide. I can't, this basically shows who's got ownership over what: physical network, storage, computing, application, data, whether it is depending on the model, that is SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. And if you are not able to make sense of this, there are a lot of webinars that I've done on the cloud with regards to SOC 2, with regards to PCI DSS, and just cloud security and stuff. You should go through it. It's there on our YouTube channel. It's there in the chat window, our YouTube channel. Please do go through it. So, and how does security pair into it? That is the biggest challenge that companies are facing. Security becomes the biggest challenge. Performance again is the next part. Availability is the next, but security for any company as per IDC is the #1 challenge across the world. And that is where SOC 2 and CCM, all those play various roles. And let's see how they overlap a big bit. And quick overview of SOC. Again, to say, if you have not already subscribed, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's there in the chat window, and the entire SOC 2 playlist is there again on our YouTube channel. I can't really get into it again, so please do go through the videos, because you might, if you're seeing SOC 2 and my videos are webinars for the first time, you might get a bit confused. So please do go through our channel and other videos. If you have any queries, do drop me a line. So just as a base, SOC 2, earlier it was SSAE 16, which is now SSAE 18. There is SOC 1, there is SOC 2, and there is a SOC 3. If I might summarize this quickly in a quick and dirty manner, SOC 1 is more on the internal control over financial reporting, ICFR, and that is for SOC 1. Now, with regards to SOC 2, that is basically more from the information security, working of the entire, IT governance in the organization. 480 odd controls are there. SOC 1, there is no specified listing of control. It has to be defined by the auditor or the consultant whomso you might have. And SOC 3, again, if I might say that, it's more like a general availability, because SOC 2 reports, SOC 1 reports are extremely sensitive, might contain a lot of sensitive data about the organization. SOC 3 is more like an executive summary, which summarizes your overall security stance that you as a company might want to submit it to your clients. So that is what SOC 1, SOC 1, SOC 2, and SOC 3 are all about. Again, go through our videos on the YouTube channel in case you're not aware of it. And this is what I had said earlier. SOC 1 is more on the focus mostly on the system and controls at office service organization, internal controls, financial reporting and stuff. And who's covered in SOC 1? All the payroll companies, healthcare companies, trust department, custodians, payroll processing, financial services, ASPs, everything comes over there. SOC 2, as I said, it's got 5 trust principles: security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. Now again, it's performed in accordance with 80 section 101 as defined by AICPA, that is American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Now let me tell you something. For doing a SOC 1, SOC 2, or SOC 3, the auditor has to be an accredited CPA with the AICPA. You can ask them for their number, registration number, and even you need to go to AICPA website and check whether that registration number actually belongs to the auditor that is in question, and whether it is even relevant or correct. It's your due diligence on that. So these are the various trust principles. And again, for SOC 2, all the cloud-based service providers are included in that. Major HR services hosted on the cloud or internally, security services, email collaboration and communication, cloud ERP services, data center co-location also covered in that. Incidentally, one of the major service provider in the world, their data centers have if I tell you the name, I can assure you that's not a single one hearing over here who doesn't know that company. And even their data centers are certified by us on SOC 2. And there is IT service management also included. And why do you need a SOC 2 then? Basically, it's a regulatory requirement. So anybody is into providing services to their clients, like a service organization, they need to get SOC 2 certified as per the law. Many a time, even the users mandate it, because if there is an issue, they'll be asked by the lawmakers as to why didn't you check the SOC 2 compliance of the vendor. And then there is a vendor management programs, do the due diligence, independent third-party opinion is required, and then finally competition and market. What I mean by that is there are many RFPs coming even today where they are mandating that you need to be SOC 2 to get certified on to take up these relevant contracts. And SOC 3, again, it's a if I might say that, it's more like a executive summary of your SOC 2 reports. It's much more, SOC 2 is much more expansive and comprehensive, detailing the how you've implemented the control, how it is being done, what's your security posture. SOC 3, all those sensitive details would be removed. It's a brief report. This is how it pans out, like a summary of the requirements. If you have any queries, you can pop it in. I hope this summarizes what we discussed so far. You can just take a minute, go through it. If you have any queries, you can just dwell on it for a minute. Okay. Thank you, Martha, for that query. She's asking, that's very nice query. No, it's not silly at all. I'm not even aware how many would be knowing that. She's pointing out as what does GAPP. So what I would ask my audience over here is, can you just quickly pop into the chat window and or onto the questions, and you can pop me as to what do you understand by GAPP. Is anyone of you aware of what is GAPP? Thank you, Martha, again for that query. So what do you mean by GAPP? Can anybody take a quick look at what that query is all about, what that standard GAPP is all about? Come on. Take just 10 seconds now. What is GAPP? Don't do a Google. Come on. If you know it, just type it in. Okay. The answers are popping in. Oh, okay. Okay, it is generally accepted privacy principles. Very nice. Thank you, guys. I got 2, 3 people who have actually popped in the answer on that. Thank you so much for that. And it is a generally accepted privacy principle. So, Martha, how it goes is that, okay, this is not a part of what I'm going to do today, but since you asked, let me honor that query of yours. The privacy is the fifth trust principle in what to say, SOC 2, and this privacy trust principles has been formulated on the basis of GAPP, generally accepted privacy principle of Canada. So that's how it maps out. So GAPP is not for all the trust principles, it's only for the fifth one. So thank you for your query, and let's move on. The trust principles, as we saw earlier, very important that you define when you're doing this with a CCM model, to define out what is the infrastructure in scope, the softwares in scope, the people in scope, the procedures, and finally the data in scope on the cloud. Who's going to do what? So if you're having a software as a service, whether you're a provider, most of our clients are SaaS providers, and we've done like almost 100 SOC 2 assessments, SOC 2, SOC 1 assessments in the over the past few years, more than 100 rather, and most of them are cloud service providers. Of course, there are some backend data analysts also, but most of it is cloud service providers. So if you're a provider, in that case, all your infrastructure in scope, and the software has to be in scope. The people are in scope. And yeah, okay. That's a nice query by Tony. Yeah, it's a long name. I'm just making it short. Okay, so he's asking whether only the infrastructure has to be involved. No, that's not the case. Again, Tony, I cannot really get into this in detail, but what happens is that you can go back to our playlist and all those details of videos, but it's when you're scoping out PCI, when you're scoping out SOC 2, it's the people, process, and technology, and all the underlying processes, everything comes in scope. So your fraud management, dispute management, data center operator, data entry operators, your software developers, everything comes in scope for that particular organization. And you can't just say do one process and don't do some other process, because the certification applies to the whole organization. You cannot pick and choose. It's not a buffet lunch. And the 5 trust principles: security. All right, sorry, just skipped a bit too fast. Okay, security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. Security is the minimum that is required if you're selecting SOC 2, and the rest 4 are optional based on your processes. It's not based on your choice or based on the money you have or based on the time on hand. It is basically the processes in scope in your organization, or the organizational processes. The other four are applicable. You can't say I'm collecting user data or I have end user data on my machines, but I don't want to do privacy because the application is not compliant. It's not really a choice. Or you are into a cloud service provider and your SaaS based application, but you say that, okay, my application are legacy applications, but you see, I don't have the time or the money, or maybe the the developers I have are not really up to the mark, and they can't do the checking of the application for the processing integrity. So you don't do that. It's not really your choice on that. So it is an optional only if it is not following in the realm or the scope of your organizational deliverables. And the four components in place when you're a cloud service provider, there is policies, communications, procedures, and finally, end but not the least, would be the monitoring aspects. Now, what about now? I'm just getting into the I got a few messages over here where people are saying that, okay, regarding CCM, yes, hang on to your horses. And so there is SOC 2 and other compliance and assurance. So as far as SOC 2 is concerned, it has its own list of requirements, but you can use whatever wrapper or whatever control set you want to use for satisfying those requirements. You might have controls that are getting satisfied under 27001 or PCI DSS or HIPAA or NIST SP800. So if that is the case, you can use that also. Those control requirements from there, you can port it over here. But that doesn't mean that if you are that you have to junk the whole 27,000, that you have to junk the whole SOC 2 and make your own control set. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, that's a nice query. Okay, thank you, Robert, for asking that question with regards to 27,001. Okay, nice query. He is saying that if an organization is 27,001 certified, does it mean that SOC 2 can write, can be get done easily? Well, it's a yes and a no, because if I look at okay, interestingly, there is a webinar just on that subject. Just click on, you just go to the chat window, you can look up the link, go to the playlist. There is 27,001 and SOC 2. There is a video on that. There's 27,001 and PCI DSS for that matter, webinar on that. So just to summarize the answer, let's like a 15-20% coverage between overlap between 27,001 and SOC 2. So having 27,001 doesn't mean that you will have SOC 2 by default. Rather, it can be the other way around. That is, if you have implemented SOC 2 in totality, then ISO 27,000 you can take it as almost done. You can use the CCA CCM, CSA CCM, which is the subject of this webinar today. You can use PCI DSS, HIPAA, or NIST 800. Okay, and Martha is back with her query. Thank you so much, Martha. She's asking with regards to NIST SP 800. See, there is, again, I'm sorry I'm pushing you back over there, but I'm almost like half an hour into my webinar and I need to start moving on this. But there is an entire webinar that we have defined with regards to NIST SP 800 and how you can use it for your organization. You can probably want to go through it if you haven't yet already gone through, but look it up so you'll know what is the difference between what you're doing at a cloud service provider and NIST SP 800. So benefits about SOC 2 for the cloud, why they're doing it, it helps in building trust, differentiate you from your peers. Actually, this is interesting, differentiating you, because this is such a big deal. It's not really like just getting a ISO 27001 certification or something. This is so huge, and it's at the pinnacle of security compliance for many organizations. Literally speaking, when when companies are actually getting SOC 2 done, they have like a client get together, they have a client conclave, and they actually host a party. And at a couple of those parties, I've been honored to be invited as for handing over the certificate to our clients. So it's a very big deal. Many companies use it for a huge amount of publicity and marketing, spending thousands of dollars on that. So it's a very big thing. So in case you're not SOC 2 compliant, so you should think about getting SOC 2 compliant if you're looking at getting good business from the States, United States, or if you're already in the United States, then to ensure that you get more business and are not cut down by some regulatory issues. Okay, there is Vijay, another query. Okay, he's asking very simple, like who are the SOC 2 auditors and from where it can be done. Okay, my friend, I skipped through the earlier slide. You can call us, you can write to us. We are, we have our own CPA and we do SOC 1, SOC 2 assurance. Plus, we are also PCI DSS, QSA, PCI, QPA. We are there, so you can always write to us. And as far as India is concerned, we have an office in the US, we have an office in India and in Singapore. So the work gets happened in a very cost-effective manner. And as far as India is concerned, all the providers, we are the number one. So plus we have an office in the US, so the delivery also happens from there. So that is where the individual, independent assurance by a CPA becomes extremely important. It is required. You can't just say I did an internal audit on that. It's not acceptable. And again, allows organization to meet regulatory requirements, level of comfort. It has got more more weightage and a self-assessment. So don't try and do it yourself. Ask a auditor to do it. Okay, again, it can include the CCM, joint audit works from various reports, little or no risk by a period of time testing, and again, it has got global coverage and global acceptance. Look at this. What is the outcome of having a violation of privacy laws, which is the fifth requirement in cloud security matrix. Okay. There's Miss Preeti. She asked a very nice question. How much SOC 2 compliance is necessary from the Indian perspective? Okay, that's a very good question. What I would request, Preeti, again, is if you can go through an earlier webinars on that. A lot of content is there, but just to answer you quickly, is that in India, there are scores, thousands and thousands and thousands of companies which are working with companies in the US and are service providers to companies in the US. Whether it is database analysis, whether it is remote management, whether it is, help desk support, medical transcription, database management, so many services are there. Now, those companies in the US won't work with a company in India unless they have SOC 2 certified, because it's a regulatory requirement. So that's where so SOC 2 is being done by companies, not because they are like super, like they want to get something done and changed in the company. No, they basically do it because the clients are demanding it, and we are literally signing up a new contract or two sometimes in a week. That's the scale of influx of requirements that comes to us. You must be working on at least 35 such assignments at this time, just on the SOC 2. That is not in addition to other assignments that are happening with other audits, PCI DSS 27 and VAPTs and stuff. So SOC 2 for the cloud, where does the statement of work go with regards to CCM? It's the first ever baseline control framework specially designed for managing risk in the cloud. So it is written by the industry for the industry. It is not like a regulatory standard like how an AICPA is, but it is like a industry accepted standard across the board, across the countries. So it provides holistic adherence to the vast and ever evolving landscape of global data privacy regulations and security standards. Now let us be clear on one thing, that is with regards to SOC 2. With regards to CCM, it is not a requirement under any standard. It's up to you. But almost all the cloud service providers we know when you are certified so many cloud service providers, who certified so many data centers, and CCM becomes the bottom line for them. So CCM is the industry go-to standard for cloud security. Then how does SOC 2 come into place? Let's get into that. As you've seen, it's a holistic standard. This SPI framework, that is, what do you think that means? SaaS as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. So it is using the security framework of ISO 27002, PCI DSS, SOX, and all those things. But again, this thing has been made by the industry. This is made for managing risk in the cloud. It addresses even the global data privacy regulations and industry standard. And the technology framework is specific to the cloud itself. It is not really for anybody and everywhere and howsoever you want to do it. It has got a CCM has got a total of 133 requirements in 12 domains, and again there is a scope or applicability of 40 odd requirements with regards to scoping and ensuring that these services are addressed in our upcoming programs. The purpose of the CMM to provide fundamental cloud-specific security objectives both to the cloud service provider and to the customer. It's a shared responsibility model, so it's not just for the cloud service providers but also for the users. And but CCM assesses and compares even the level of maturity of the CSPs, that is, cloud service providers. It is the first CCM is the first security controls framework for the cloud. It allows for assessment and comparisons of the CSPs, so you can get certified and check that where are you with regards to the band and whether you're doing very well or whether you need to improve and what you need to improve and who you need to sack. You'll get some very good insight from here. Look at this, the full coverage of the CCM. These are the different domains within uh, SOC2, and look at how they are overlapping with CCM 3.01. So you can see 16 of the the controls are overlapping, and the overlap with CCM and what to say NIST, there is a major overlap from internal to external. With regards to 27,001, again many things are in the quadrant itself. Now, what is CCM not? It's a standard. It's a standard. It's actually a pseudo standard. It's not really like a AICPA or a PCIDSS type of standard. It's basically a non-profit organization, and they have made the standard. People are now continually working on it and improving. So information security over here, again, cloud first or cloud only strategy, it depends. So if you're a service provider, you would be saying, okay, get my cloud up and running first, or whether you're okay with just getting it out on a baseline basis. And then there is a due diligence to be done, and it's not vendor specific at all. It's it's there as a vendor and technologically agnostic. Now, roadmap for CCM with SOC2. These are the mapping that we have done. You can see the industry mapping. So there is AICPA. It's there. Majorly mapped out. It's there also on the CCM website. There is a mapping of CCM to SOC2, and upcoming in the CCM 4.0. These are on the last, and we can see things have started to improve or get incorporated. Now, getting a few quick facts in place. Next 5 minutes. Okay, high pressure, high speed. Now, stay with me. Remember this. If your CSP, that is a cloud service provider, is compliant on SOC 2, and if you're a cloud service provider, this is what you need to remember. If you're a cloud service user, this is what you need to ask and be very clear, because we have attended so many such cloud meetings, and the clients, they come and they ask with absolutely zero understanding of what is cloud and what is CCM. So getting the facts clear straight, if the CSP is compliant to SOC 2 and or CCM, it doesn't mean that the clients are. It's only those areas of physical and environmental security or that individual process management that it is clear. Otherwise, you might need to sit with the internal person directly. If a client services providers clients are compatible, it doesn't mean that the CSP is. So if your clients are compatible to SOC 2 or CCM, whatever be the case, it doesn't mean that the provider is also that the CSP becomes compliant by default. If the CSP and the client both are compliant, let's assume everything set in a note and in a particular note, and you decide to go ahead with you and your service provider decide to go ahead with CCM and SOC, but that doesn't mean that all the other clients become compliant immediately. That's what I wanted to do when you are sending across the pricing on that. Now, a SOC 2 compliance report, remember this, it only reflects a particular point in time. A few more questions to ask your cloud service provider as to how long has the CSP been SOC 2 compliant. Okay, nice name. It is okay. Jesus Bayari. Yeah, and that's a nice name. Okay, I'm not exclaiming. He's asked two very nice questions. That is SOC to report a single point in time only view assessment? Now, a SOC 2 or a SOC 1 has two types of reports. Again, I didn't get into it because this is not a webinar on SOC 2. You should, I insist that you please go through our webinar on, our webinar on SOC 2 on our, which is there on our website. Um, okay, just go through it and you will know what I'm talking about with regards to what is meant by type 1 and a type 2. Type 2 is a point in time. Type 1 is a point in time as on date. It's only the validation of your documentation. So if you map it to an ISO certification, then SOC 2 type 1 or a SOC 1 type 1 is more like a stage 1 audit of ISO, where only the SOPs, policies, procedures are validated. But a type 2 report needs a minimum of 6 months of evidence. Minimum 6 months of evidence is required. Now, so that is where you need to remember. So type 1 is that as on date, and type 2 is more like a 6 months minimum evidence requirements are there. Now, what specific services and software requirements were included in the validation? What specific facilities are there? Because see, we have seen some software reports where I don't know whether the auditor was an idiot or the client misrepresented or what, I don't know. But the company is doing like 4 or 5 processes, but only 1 or 2 are mentioned. For whichever reasons, only they validated 1 or 2 services of their organization in their software requirements. So you need to be very careful. Sometimes it could be some sort of a managed, if I might say, that report. So just check if you are a cloud user as to whatever you're buying from your cloud service provider, are they included in your SOC 2 and your CCM report or not? Otherwise they'll say we are CCM certified, cloud certified, SOC 2 certified, but what they are selling you is not there in the report as the scope. So what specific facilities were included in the report, anything left out, or what relies on the delivery of the service? That's what I was saying now. That's the fourth point. If you can see, are there any system components that the CSP relies on for delivery of service and were not included in the SOC 2 validation? This even includes their third-party providers, their outsourced partners. So the CSP, we have seen cloud service providers who have outsourced some operations to some other provider. Now the cloud, your CSP is SOC 2 or and CCM certified, but their outsourced vendor is not. Then there is a mess. You need to look into that also. So going ahead, and then what do you ask them from if you're a user, what to ask? Proof of compliance and when they got certified. Now SOC 2 requires an annual attestation, an annual audit. We have seen many SOC 2 reports where it is they just got it done once. Documented evidence of what has been included as evidence in the system components. Now at the top of the report there is something called as a management assertion. You can go through it to even know what has been included in the scope, what has been excluded from the scope, and ensure that the appropriate contract language is there. Now we have seen cloud service providers where they are providing a data data analysis, data management services also, but they have included only security and availability. So 99.99 whatever uptime, they have only assessed that, but whether they're processing the data properly, whether privacy is the privacy of the users is taken of you as of your users are taken care of or not, they have not checked that at all. So ensure that the appropriate contract language as per the SLA that you have asked is there in the report. And if you're not compliant, then you can call us and we can do an entire then everything falls in your lap. Your cloud services, entire services getting assessed. For if you are a provider, if you are a user, then it falls in your lap. And if you're a provider, you better get SOC 2 compliant with CCM very soon if you are looking at doing business in a serious manner with good clients. And this is a this is a very nice quote that I put from Paul Maritz, who was the CEO of VMware. He said public cloud providers must take data loss liability, with at this time they don't. in a very serious manner. So how long does it take SOC 2 and CCM to get audited? Type 1 report minimum takes 7 to 10 weeks. This is our experience. Now for a type 2 report, it's anywhere from 10 to 14 weeks, just the audit and the reporting. If you have not got ready also, then it will take more time. It can be 18 weeks, 20 weeks, whatever, based on your how mature you are, or what all findings to come up in the assessment. This is as an average. We've got clients who finished their entire SOC 2 audit and reporting within 7 to 8 weeks also. But those are like very mature and very supportive management companies. And but some companies, and rather most of them, that really doesn't happen. Cost of certification, how does it matter? It depends on many parameters. Like it is, if I had saved $1 every time a client called and just said, how much does it cost for a SOC 2 certification? Yeah, how much will the certificate cost? This is utter rubbish. There is a cost, there is a scoping methodology that has to be followed. I know that there are many companies who are just giving the cost without any scoping. I don't know how the heck they're doing it, but there is an understanding that is required of the size and complexity, the number of principles, whether you want a type 1 or type 2, and how many period, what is the period that is covered for the assessment, 6 months, 12 months, whatever is the case, and what could be the scoping of the number of controls applicable to it. There is other areas also, the current maturity levels of the organization, everything falls in scope. And again, it's an annual recurring report, so upfront cost is always higher, but because it's the first time, a lot of work has to be done. But the upfront subsequent years, 10 to 20% from the first time reporting, you can expect a depreciation or a decrease in costing. Type 1 reports, as I said earlier, it's for a snapshot in time. Type 2, this is again from my friend Jesus Bayari, who asked the question. Type 2 is more of a design and operating, where the evidence is checked for minimum 6 to 12 months. This is the structure, and okay, we've already covered this. We can skip. This is what the report structure looks like of a SOC 2 report. There is a service, there is an auditor's opinion at the top. There is a management's assertion that they agree what they're providing, what is the current maturity like. Then the description of the report, test of controls, corresponding results, and then finally the additional information, anything that can be provided by the service organization. So it's a long drawn process. Just the report writing takes like a month plus, very painful, and it is very hard work goes into writing the reports. So if you're expecting your SOC 2 audit and reporting to happen in a month, and if your provider or your auditor is agreeing to it, then it's time for you to rethink your strategy. Okay, we've already seen this. I have mentioned it with regards to difference in type 1 and a type 2 report. These are the points that you need to consider, or your contracts, RFPs, SLA. You can go back to the AICPA website to check the coverage, training and awareness, executive communication. And what we always say is that don't call your auditor at the last minute. Sign up immediately. Have a clear line of communication with your auditor to avoid any unpleasant surprises. Even if you've got audited in the past, you're changing your auditor, ensure that you have the auditor on board ASAP. There is an RA and scope in identifying the timelines, control activities, and if it is with regards to identifying your in-scope services and your physical locations, all the risk assessment parts, very important, and your audit team selection, very, 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 very important. It should be a licensed CPA firm. You cannot get it done by any Tom, Dick, and Harry, no matter how much you like the person or imandar he is or very honest he is. It has to be independent. He cannot be doing anything else for the organization. Go for a single vendor approach. Don't have one company doing a consulting, another one doing the certification, and then the audit team, the qualifications of the audit team. For example, okay, as a company, we are based in the US and we have our own CPA. Our certificates goes from the US, which is our key USPs. Our audit team is based in India and the US, so our cost is down. And then finally, we have our own CPA. Okay, that brings me to the end. These are our past webinars, tons of it. We have been doing it so diligently, and thank you for all the love and best wishes and encouragement that we always get to hear. And the 31st, that is the last time, it was a PCI DSS and a webinar, and there is surprise webinar which is coming up this month. Stay tuned, it is going to blow your mind. We've got some amazing guests coming out on our next webinar. So stay tuned and do not forget to sign up. And as the webinar ends, do drop in your question and do complete the survey at the end of it. It is a huge boost for us. Let us know what you think. Do drop in your suggestions, comments, and what future subjects you want us to take up. Our YouTube channel, do not forget to subscribe. Our Facebook page, lots of information, blogs, small videos gets posted. Our LinkedIn page, do be there for us, and we are there with you. And our contact details, do drop me a line, we will respond to you. Thank you again. Thank you for being such a great audience. Lots of questions are there, but I'm running short of time. I'm out of time. I will respond to you, and for all those people I respond back personally. What I'll be doing is that I'll be giving you a one-on-one consulting also in case you have any queries. So do drop in your questions. You get the opportunity to speak to me directly. Thank you again. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.